It is week 25 of the NHL season, and the whole league is on edge as we get closer to the playoffs. We got goalies ready to drop the gloves, teams seemingly getting screwed by the league, and coaches are being fired. The NHL playoffs are almost here, and the tensions are rising. So let's take a look at what really happened in week 25 of the NHL season. Sunday, let the boys go. We're starting to get down to the wire here, which means that there's a very clean line between games that matter and ones that don't. So, if I breeze over your team because they stink and are playing in a nothing game, please write me a handwritten note that is delivered by Bird for my viewing. That being said, let's kick it off with the toilet bowl, Hawks and Philly. Michkov versus Bedard. The sophomore season for Connor Bedard has been rough mentally on him, but at least he gets a reminder of what it's like to win a game as the Hawks put up a touchdown. Both he and Michkov have 2 points as Chicago sucks a little bit less today. Now the Penguins are also in the basement of the East with the Flyers, and they were visiting the Panthers. Only notable thing going on for the Penguins right now is Sid's chase for a 20th consecutive point per game season, and he gets closer to that milestone with 2 more assists in this one. They had a 3-1 lead in the second, but of course, they just can't have nice things, and the Panthers battle back to force overtime and win it in a shootout. Just another quick note on how sick Sidney Crosby still is. He's 37 years old, and he leads the NHL in 5v5 scoring. Absolutely insane. Then we had the Jets versus Sabres. Buffalo, when are people gonna learn? They're the best damn lottery team in the world. Fresh off of scoring on their own net to lose a game, James Reimer, Leaf legend, 33 stops. Ryan McLeod, 9, has a 4-point game, and Buffalo gets 2 points closer to ruining their lottery chances. Now the Preds have been doing plenty of losing this season. This time it's on the road to a Blues team that has been on fire. 13-2-2 in their last 17 games going back before the Four Nations, and they're creating a nice cushion for themselves in that last wildcard spot. It's eerily similar to their 2019 run, where they fired the coach midway through the season, became supernova hot, and then won the cup. Coach Jim Montgomery is working his magic over there. On to Vegas versus Tampa, where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Hurdle is at it again. 2 hat tricks this month. He's on fire lately, scores. But the brutal news for Vegas is that he had to leave the game after taking this hit into the boards by Emil Lilleberg. That is no bueno for him or Vegas, despite picking up the win. Now, after I talked up the Hurricanes in last week's review, they ended up getting spanked. So, Taylor Hall, the forgotten piece in the Rantanen deal, scores a hat trick. How are ya? 5-2 win over the Ducks, and the Canes have won 9 of their last 10. Then in the final game, it's between the Kings and Bruins, and this one got spicy. Let's jump into the second period. 3-2 LA. Kemper goes at Hustaninov. That's going to piss off Jeremy Swayman, so he comes out to the red line. You want some? Here we go. Kemper goes out to join. Both start dropping the gloves. Holy shit, fellas. Are we going to see a goalie tilt? Here we go. What's this? No, the stripes gets in the way, says nah, what are you doing, ref? Let the boys go. Absolutely insane not to let the tendies drop the gloves. The fans are pissed off. I'm pissed off. LA dropped 7 on Swayman, and Boston has now lost 14 of their last 17 games. Monday, goalie interference. It is desperation time in Vancouver. A heartbreaking loss to the Rangers in which they outplayed them completely, and now they will be without Elias Pettersson and Niels Höglander for their game against the Devils. However, Thatcher Demko returns from injury when they need him most. So it's a 2-on-1 open cage Demko, post to post butter and toast robbery. Demko looks dialed in, give the old nuts a shake. That is huge for Vancouver. Fast forward to the last minute, Canucks are down by 1, and with 34 seconds left, they tie it. Connor Garland coming up clutch. This goes to the shootout, and the Canucks complete the comeback. Huge for Vancouver, and I'm sure that only has Sheldon Keefe even more pissed off, especially after he cooked his own player in the media after last game. Meanwhile, Dallas takes full advantage of the hospitalized Wild. 3-0 shutout for Jake Ottinger. Stars look good. Can't say the same for Utah. They're also on life support with a playoff spot, and they drop a massive egg to the Jekyll and Hyde Red Wings. Detroit scores 5 goals on 13 shots, break the 6-game losing streak, and give their fans one tiny glimpse of hope to likely let them down all over again. Then, a massive wildcard game in the East between the Islanders and Blue Jackets. This one was tight as expected, so 2-2 game, 10 seconds left. Cal Palmieri, tippy long-stocking for the game winner. But before Lou Lamoriello can fire up the private jet, the ref waves it off right away for goalie interference. What? Let's take a look at this. Palmieri, tiny bump. Then Merzlikins is going to push off and puck goes in. They review with Toronto and the call is still no goal. This Islanders fan is everyone losing their mind watching this call being no goal for goalie interference. It goes to the shootout and the Jackets find a way to win. Post-game comments after this one were juicy. Cal Palmieri, of course, just didn't get the call whatsoever. Patty Waugh also chimed in and said, if Toronto's afraid to overturn the calls made by the ref, then we don't need Toronto. Now, personally, I don't want a hockey game where this is considered goalie interference. Merzlikins has time to reset and make the save, but there's just too much gray area with this rule. No, Lou Lamoriello is not holding me hostage as I'm saying this. The Islanders got screwed on this call, and if they wind up missing the playoffs because of it, it's going to sting even more. Tuesday, Jets clinch. It's a busy night of hockey, starting with the Atlantic Division clash between the Senators and Sabres. We started off this season with these two teams being 2/3 of the Bermuda Triangle of mid. Ottawa's on their way out, while Buffalo is far worse than just mid. Of course, let's not forget, the Sabres are out, so the best damn lottery team in the world works its magic. James Reimer added again, 30 of 32 saves, and the Sens dropped the ball against a team that they should easily pick up 2 points against. That is their third loss in the last 4. Meanwhile, Tampa's getting a Kucherov masterclass. Loses a few teeth, comes right back for the power play, scores, and then adds 2 assists to boot. 6-1 beatdown by the Lightning against the Penguins, and of course, Sidney Crosby still got an assist, but we may very well have to ship Tristan Jarry back to Shanghai. Then we had the Leafs versus the Flyers. We were actually at this game. We weren't sitting close enough to be shushed by the Yacht Club, but the Leafs royally blew their gimme game against Nashville, but tonight they handle business. Touchdown and the extra point. Nylander and Tavares, 4-point night. Side note on John Tavares, fun fact, he left the island. And other fun fact, he leads all pending free agents in goals this season with 32. Oil up that $11 million contract extension, Toronto, because it's coming. Ice tilt game of the night goes to Carolina and Nashville. The Canes outshoot the Preds 35-16. Hey, even Taylor Hall remembered that he won a Hart Trophy in this league and scored a silky one. Too bad everyone was seated for the UC Saros 35-save masterclass. Now on to potentially the scariest team heading into the playoffs. It's the St. Louis Blues. They take on a Habs team who's also looked dangerous as of late, but they take them to school. Robert Thomas and Philip Broberg both have 4-point nights, and Thomas actually has more points than any other player in the NHL since coming out of the Four Nations break. Jordan Whittington does what he does best, which is winning games, and the Blues spank Montreal 6-1 for their 7th straight win. All that winning from St. Louis has Minnesota Wild fans sweating. It is just survival mode for the hospitalized Wild. Get into the dance and play 500 until they get Kaprizov and company back. But that may be easier said than done. The Golden Knights, those sneaky little devils, are getting hot at the right time too. Jack Eichel, Hattie in this game, gives them their 4th win in a row, while the Wild drop their 2nd straight. Another team in the West who is scorching hot right now are the LA Kings. They beat a quote-unquote desperate Rangers team to win their 4th in a row, but are now 9-1 in their last 10. They will face Edmonton again in the first round, but maybe, just maybe, this is finally the year they can break through. Now, individually, no one is having a year quite like the dog Nathan MacKinnon. Another 2-point night for him. He continues to lead the NHL, and the best part for Avs fans is that there's whispers that Captain Gabriel Landeskog may be healthy enough to return come playoff time. He hasn't played in 2 years, and maybe he's a shell of his older self, but the morale boost alone could take an already juggernaut Avs team to a whole other level. And of course, the Red Wings still continue to let down their fans with that loss. Now let's check in on the Flames, who have been scratching and clawing lately for that last spot in the West. The Flames have been digging deep. Scoring is an issue, but they continue to find ways to win. Nazem the Dream Kadri, absolute gamer when you need him most. He scores the OT winner against Seattle for the Flames to win their 4th in a row and stay 4 points behind the Blues. Finally, it's the main event heavyweight match and potential Stanley Cup final, the Jets versus the Caps. Ovi still showing up to games on that beer league diet. Cheetos, Subway, get on the plane and get on the ice. He's still smashing Wayno's record with that diet. What a legend. He scores again and is now 6 goals away from greatness. The Jets, however, get the last laugh as Nikolai Ehlers gets the OT winner and clinches the Jets a playoff spot to end Tuesday. Wednesday, desperate Vancouver. The Canucks are on the outside looking in, and with St. Louis adopting the Shorzy mentality of never losing another game again, they need to find a way to beat the Islanders, who themselves just came off one of the worst ways to lose a hockey game. And we did a breakdown on the Canucks this past week, which you should check out after this video, but man, do they wish they had a healthy Thatcher Demko this entire season. He stops 26 of 28 shots. He's going to need to be a dog for the Canucks down the stretch if they want any chance of sneaking into that last spot. Vancouver takes it 5-2, and the Islanders have now lost 3 straight. Perhaps Gary and the NHL officials will join me in witness protection program from Lou Lamoriello. Now, the Devils have been stirring the pot lately. Since January 1st, they are 13-15-3 and have looked extremely mid. Sheldon Keefe snapping on Jonathan Kovacevic post-game last week was hilarious, but it also put a lot of eyes on the pressure that this team is under right now. Thankfully, it's a wonderful time to get the Chicago Bedards. Luke Hughes gets 3 assists, Jesper Bradatui 2 of his own, and they break their 3-game losing streak to one of the worst teams in the league. Congrats. Meanwhile, Boston's in that conversation because they're going for an all-time tank job right now. 6-2 spanking from the Anaheim Ducks. The downfall of Boston from just 2 short years ago needs to be studied. The Florida Panthers have completely neutered that team as they've now lost 7 in a row. Lastly, we have the Stars and Oilers. Life is rough in Edmonton right now with no Draisaitl and McDavid. And heading into this postseason, the vibe feels entirely different than it did last year. The outcome of this game doesn't make Oilers fans feel any better. The RoboCop, Jason Robertson, gets a natural hat trick. Down 4-0 going into the third, the Oilers did score 3 to make it interesting, but Jake Ottinger is the difference. 42 save performance, and the Stars' depth still remains unmatched. They're the only team in the NHL this season with 5 players who have scored 25 goals or more. They held a similar title last season, and once again, they're looking like a monstrous first-round opponent. Unfortunately for them, it looks like they're going to draw the Colorado Avalanche in the first round for a juggernaut matchup. Thursday, follow the script. The script writers were out in full force for today. The day started with some big news as John Tortorella is out as Philly's head coach. He got punked by Toronto, basically said, yeah, I think I'm done here, and that was it. Philly sends him packing, and it's the best day ever for Matvei Michkov. The shackles are off, and the kid is ready to fly. So what's the script say? Yeah, he's going to have a monster game. First period, he's on Hattie Watch. He gets 3 points and almost gets a hat trick in this one, but he hits the post. Ding, fries are done. No Hattie for him. Philly still ends up putting up 6 goals against a Habs team that is fighting for their playoff lives. We all end up losing, though, because we no longer get Spicy Torts quotes post-game. Next, the script reads that Sidney Crosby is making history. On the doorstep, he buries Keep the Change. He beats Wayne Gretzky's record for the most point-per-game seasons in NHL history. Of course, Pittsburgh lost, and Tristan Jarry is definitely going back to Shanghai, but what are the chances that we may get 2 Gretzky records being smashed in one season, and they're both going to happen by the last 2 superstars who have essentially carried the game for the past 20 years. Now, Ovechkin is 6 goals away, but the Wild put their balls on the table and keep the grade 8 off the score sheet while holding the Caps to 2 goals. Afterwards, it's still pure class from Ovi. Caps are ready to hit the showers, and he starts telling the fellas to get back out there and shake hands with Marc-Andre Fleury in their last matchup. Incredible, considering all the one-on-one battles between shooter and goalie that they've had over the years, and that is just one legend recognizing another. Then you got Brady Tkachuk absolutely chucking them while the Sens have their dads in the crowd. Big Walsh just looking on like, yeah, I've seen this one a few thousand times. Ottawa's also grateful that Detroit can't stand winning, and the Sens pick up a nice 2 points. Then we had a couple blowouts. First, Tampa completely relegates Utah by destroying them 8-0. Playoff lives on the line, and they lay that stinker. No way they get a real team name after a game like that. The other blowout was in Seattle. Turns out that missing McDraisaitl is absolutely no fun. The Schwartz is strong for the Kraken. He gets 2, and it's a 6-1 beatdown over Edmonton. At least Oilers fans can be happy that the Avs shut out the Kings. 4 straight wins for Colorado, and damn does Marty Necas ever look good as an app. He gets another 2 goals. Then the wild card race in the West has some drama. First, Blues versus Preds. It seems like the St. Louis Blues can do no wrong. They're down by 1, and they score 2 goals in 21 seconds to take the lead. Now, who knew that the Oilers would indirectly screw the Canucks as they completely fumbled the bag on not matching the offer sheet that St. Louis gave Dylan Holloway. He scores twice in this one and has 60 points on the season. What were you thinking, Edmonton? Man, what's going on there? As if it feels like St. Louis isn't on a destined path right now. Marchessault buries at the buzzer to tie it, but hold the phone. Turns out he didn't beat the buzzer. That's just the way she goes for Nashville this season, and Canucks fans fall to their knees in a Walmart seeing that result. So do Calgary fans. Boy, do the Flames need this one against Dallas, but Casey DeSmith turns into a brick wall. 48 shots on goal. DeSmith stops 46 of them, and that is a dagger for Calgary, who is now 6 points back at the last spot from St. Louis. Finally, the Sharks welcome the parade from the north. Classic Leaf game where they can beat a basement team to get a cushion on that division lead, but these are the Toronto Maple Leafs. Giuseppe Wonderwall playing the puck like Stevie Wonder. He puts it in his own net, and it's looking like a disaster. But wait, here comes the core four. It's time to start trying, fellas. They score twice in 59 seconds to at least squeak out a point, but in typical Leafs fashion, they lose in the shootout and miss a valuable point in the race to win the Atlantic. Friday, return of the Rat. The day is finally here. Brad Marchand has been cleared to play his first game in a Florida Panther uniform. Just seeing him in Panther red feels wrong. I mean, seriously, what's going on here? We're in the Twilight Zone, and if that didn't make you feel nauseous enough, how about him setting up Sam Bennett for the OT winner? Florida is back on top of the Atlantic, and they're still missing Matthew Tkachuk. The potential line of Tkachuk, Marchand, and Bennett in the playoffs is already sending shivers down everyone's spines. Now, a couple of quick snaps for teams taking care of business. First, Vegas takes their 2 freebie points from the Bedards. That's 4 in a row for them now. Meanwhile, the Jets shut out the Devils to become the first team to 50 wins on the season. I'm sure Sheldon Keefe somehow thinks it's all still Jonathan Kovacevic's fault. However, the truth is that Connor Hellebuyck was just completely in his form. 24 shots, 24 saves. He's got a league-high 7th shutout on the season and overall MVP-esque performance all around. Of course, the wild card race gets a little bit murkier as well. Taylor Hall has been a man possessed lately for the Hurricanes, and he scores again in this game as Montreal drops their 5th straight loss. Still right in the mix, but being the second youngest team in the NHL, experience can go a long way in this push for the playoffs. Now that opened the door for the Columbus Blue Jackets to finally reclaim that last wildcard spot, and they got to do it against the desperate Vancouver Canucks. This one was a gunslinger's paradise. 3-0 lead for Vancouver less than 14 minutes into this game, but cue the comeback, baby. The Jackets got heart, and they will just not quit. Boone Jenner, what a name, what a game. The captain scores twice. This is a 6-6 game going to a shootout. And Elvis Merzlikins stops the attempt for the win, says, "Nuh-uh, not in my building." And with that dub, the Jackets overtake the Habs for the last wildcard spot in the East. Now, the Rangers could have been cheeky and taken it right back, but instead they completely blow it. They held a 4-2 lead, however the Ducks fly together, score 3 in the third, and Mason McTavish gets the OT winner to yoink an extra point from the Rangers. So after all that aftermath, we have a 3-way tie for the last spot in the East between the Rangers, Blue Jackets, and the Habs. Saturday, hockey night. Let's hit the ground running here and kick it off with the most important game of the day, and that's the toilet bowl. Flyers versus Sabres. Matvei Michkov has officially turned into Sergei Fedorov without torts. Borderline comedic at this point. He buries twice for back-to-back 2-goal games. Could he be making a late push for the Calder? One thing's for certain is that he won't be getting benched for every little mistake, and that's a win for Philly as they also take the toilet bowl 7-4. And let's move on to another Russian on a mission right now, and that is Nikita Kucherov. You know damn well he's in that rocking chair putting up 4 points against the New York Islanders, and he couldn't have had an empty net or two, but he decided not to shoot this puck. That's all right. He's still got 11 points in his last 3 games, and Tampa has won their 3rd in a row. The St. Louis Blues, on the other hand, these guys may never lose again. They hold the Avs and the Dog to 1 goal and then hold down the fort in the final minute to get their 9th straight win. We may just have to break down the magic of this team on the channel this week, so keep an eye out for that. With all the noise that the Blues are making, Minnesota's faintly hearing their footsteps as they lose to the Devils courtesy of a Nico Hischier hat trick. With that loss, they drop down to the first wildcard spot. Now let's go over to the Sens and Blue Jackets, where Brady Tkachuk is predictably pissing people off. Now, the Jackets need this one, and they're desperate. So you got guys playing goalie with the empty net, trying to tie it up late. But again, Columbus just falls short. It's like no one in this wild card race wants to take it over. 29 safe performance from Linus Ullmark. He leads the way for Ottawa as they win this one 3-2. Rangers fans, they're loving every second of that outcome. And although they haven't been great lately, they do their job just fine against the Sharks. Adam Fox, 2 goals. Artemi Panarin follows suit as it's cookie night in San Jose. 6-1 dub means that they now sit in the last wild card spot in the East. Forgotten team in all this mix are the Detroit Red Wings. They have been so brutal as of late, but because everyone else in the wild card race has as well, they're still lurking around, and Austin Watson is going to set the tone early. He and Lauko start chucking them like they're getting paid per punch, and it ends with a DDT, fire me up, let's go, fellas. The Red Wings need some juice, and Lucas Raymond gets the game winner on the power play, and that's only their 4th win in their last 15 games. Yet, they're still only 3 points back of a playoff spot. I'm telling you, one hot week from any one of these teams, and they could find themselves in the playoffs. Meanwhile, in a complete other stratosphere are the Dallas Stars. They are looking scary, and ever since their coach called them out for their effort, they win 5 straight just like that and clinch a playoff spot. Between them and the Avs, a Stanley Cup contender is going to be going home in the first round. Side note, Seattle was also eliminated with that loss to the Stars, so they can pack their shit and start booking tee times in April. Speaking of tee times, the Leafs have plenty of experience doing that, but this year, maybe it's different. For the first time in the Matthews era, they can win the division, and they very well may because of the man who left the island. John Tavares, the hottest goal scorer of the month. There ain't no one printing money like this guy right now. He scores twice in this one, and Toronto gets a huge 2 points to not only keep the parade going, but to take the division lead over the Atlantic. Finally, we had the Battle of Alberta. Flames' playoff hopes are starting to dwindle to life support, and the Oilers still don't have McDavid. Regardless, the boys still hate each other. We got some Gen Z line brawls, one fight with everyone hugging each other, a couple more scrums to keep guys honest, but the return of Leon Draisaitl just would not be ignored. First, the Oilers are down by 1 late. Leon, far side, ping, fries are done, tied game. Just like that, first player to 50 goals on the season. Then in OT, he goes back for more. Postman, once again, how's your blocker? Twice with virtually the same shot. The man can't be stopped. The German doctor with another surgical performance in MVP form, and he puts on a clinic to get Edmonton the win. So, what did you think of Week 25? Who surprised you? Who pissed you off? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you want to see some of our breakdowns from this past week, make sure you click on any of the videos on screen here, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel if you want the very best breakdowns and weekly recaps of the NHL.